You boys look like a weird heavy metal band.
Yes, we are a band.
Really?
Yeah.
So what do you play?
Symphonic, post-apocalyptic, reindeer-grinding, Christ-abusing, extreme war, pagan, Fennoscandic metal.
Right. Really interesting.
Yeah, nothing like no mas to get you pumped in the morning. DJ Nubis here with you on the Metal Time Radio podcast doing another movie review. Took me a little while to get to this one. I'd heard many different things about the film. Fat Samurai Guy had done some stuff on it. I think Kevin Lambert did a review. I have not even watched it on it because I want to go in blind, of course. So I'll probably go back and see what his thoughts are on this. It's for Monkey Man 2024, directed by Dev Patel. Cast consists of Dev Patel as the lead character, Kid, Shartal Copley as Tiger, Pito Bash as Alfonso, Mikrand Deshpande as Baba Shakti, Sikander Kir as Rana, and Vipin Sharma as Alpha. Plot is: an anonymous young man unleashes a campaign of vengeance against the corrupt leaders who murdered his mother and continue to systematically victimize the poor and the powerless. First thing off bat about this film, great cinematography, good fight choreography, not great, but good. Good use of emotion and plot and storyline. Like, I did feel myself being immersed into the story and feeling the pain of Kid and, you know, the trauma that he was facing and getting that kind of like inner anger about like, yeah, I want to be like this guy and go in and fuck shit up. You know, you really get that vibe. But as the movie starts, you have Kid, aka Monkey Man. He fights in, like, I guess it'd be underground fighting. He makes money, at least a little bit of money doing that. So he fights fighters like Tiger and King Cobra and other fighters, but he generally loses. So, like, he's the guy that they try to pump up to the crowd. I think Tiger's actually an announcer guy. I think he's the guy that's announcer. And he basically tries to pump up Monkey Man to be a sort of a big foe to the other fighters, which, you know, Monkey Man, you know, Kid can handle himself a little bit, but he often loses. He's the guy supposed to lose. It's almost like fixed, right? So he does this, and then but he's still trying to get more money, and he's trying to do this and this. So he ends up going to a woman named Queenie, who runs a sort of brothel escort club. It's hidden. It's a club that's hidden with all this personal corrupted officials that go there because it's a brothel, but they kind of pose it as not one. It's like a dance club, supposedly. But it's very eclectic, and only the best of the best and the richiest can get in there. But he goes there and he confronts her, and he's like, look, you know, I'll do the shit jobs that nobody wants to do here. Like, I don't care what it is. So he ends up, you know, she ends up kind of feeling sorry for him, but she's like, you know, you can't speak about anything that you see within these walls. He's like, good, done. So he becomes a kitchen hand, and he's cleaning the kitchen, doing just like dishes and shit like that, to where he befriends a guy named Alfonso. I can't remember what Alfonso's actual job is. I think he's just kind of like the guy that goes around and makes sure the waiters are getting the right drinks to these higher ups, the politicians and stuff, especially for people like Baba Shakti, who's kind of like this iconic, it's almost like a cult. He's almost like this Gandhi-ish type dude that's been getting a bunch of followers who, through rumors, are working their asses off for almost no pay. Like, he mistreats them, but he calls them his disciples. So, like, he's very good at dealing with the public, and he's also got the local police led by Rana, who are corrupt, and so they work for him in a certain way. And we'll get to some of that here in a minute. Now, as of course, he's working at this club, he befriends this little dog, stray dog outside, which he's secretly trained to go and fetch a gun and bring it back to him. So just out of nowhere, he has like a gun offsite because he can't bring a gun into the facility. They would pat you down and everything, but he's trained his dog because he works there to come to the back door with his gun when he wants it. So we're starting to learn that he has like ulterior motives here. And one night he decides we get the backstory to kid here, because when he was younger, I would say, I don't even know how old he's supposed to be here. He looks like he's in his early 20s, but at the time of the trauma that he took place in his life, he was probably about 9 or 10, my guess. But so the trauma we find out is he was part of this village that Rana and company came and killed everybody to make way for some buildings or something that Shakti was going to have put up there, resurrected. But in the process of doing this, Rana confronts his mother while he's hidden like in upstairs or something, because he sees through the wooden floor. Rana confronts his mother and makes advances on her. She shuns him, actually hurts him, cuts his face. He comes back, beats her, rapes her, and then literally dumps gasoline on her and burns her corpse. Like, just, I think she was still alive too. So this really, really traumatized kid. And this is what his motive is now. So to get into this club where Rana and Shakti are currently, he doesn't know really that Baba Shakti is behind everything, but his main goal right now is on Rana. So the dog brings the gun and he gets in there and he confronts Rana in the bathroom, but because of his trauma, he hesitates. And, this leads to Rana, who can kind of handle himself. And I think there was another bodyguard in the stall. That's what sort of distracted everything from happening. So they're fighting over it. Kid gets shot. And he does make it out, but he gets arrested at one point, but then breaks out and he falls into some sort of like river that takes him to some Hindu village, and there the Hindu national is led by Alpha, who we find is like a trans person in some way, or maybe drag. Like I haven't really figured out exactly what they're supposed to represent. I just assume drag, but it could be trans. The way that it's portrayed, I don't know, because I'll get to some of that later. But they heal him, and then through what Alpha calls it's almost like peyote or some sort of hallucinogenic drug they have, he tells Kid, like, are you ready to face your fears, face your trauma, and then let go of it? So he's like, yeah, let's do this, And of course, he goes back and rewinds the entire process of what happened to his mother, how close he was with her, and, of course, the death with Rana and stuff like that. So eventually he comes out of it and he starts punching his punching bag that's out there and working on it, but he's struggling to kind of find focus. So we have this other guy, pretty funny dude, I don't remember what the character's name was, but he's got these like Congo drums, but it's not really Congo. It looks like them, but it has like little sounds it can make, and he oftentimes will tell stories using them, and the crowd loves him and they laugh at his stories and stuff, and he's using these sound effects through these drum things. So anyway, kids are at the punching bag, and this guy just starts trying to get him into a groove. So if you ever saw the movie with Mark Dacascos called Only the Strong back in the 90s, it's a similar theme. You've got music that kind of there was also a character, and I think it was either Street Fighter or Tekken, that I used to play that did a similar movement style. Now, this isn't what kids doing. Kids more just punching and stuff like that. But same principle is only strong. Using the music to guide your fighting and your breathing and stuff like that. So when the temple, after he's trained, but he's got it narrowed down, he's found a new purpose. He wants to fight for good, and he wants to be protecting the powerless. And so what ends up happening is there's some politicians, of course, that want to take over the temple where these Hindu people are, because they can't afford to run it, or it's not really something you'd pay for because it's out in the middle of nowhere, basically. But it's, I guess, land wise, like, if they can't pay whatever they're asking to keep that land for the temple, that's the only thing you can assume by this. They're going to take it. So what Kid does, he goes back to the fighting ring, and he basically places a bet on himself with what money they had in their stash. He took the stash that the Hindu had in their box to try to pay whatever land rent or whatever it is. He takes that, bets it on himself to fight the fighters that Tiger puts in front of him. One of them, of course, King Cobra, is like the champion. And it's kind of funny because usually the fights are drawn out, and Kid's the one kind of on the losing ends. Like, he says, punch me, knock me out, like whatever, to end the fight sequence. But in this case, again, Tiger assumes that he's going to follow suit and just be the pawn that gets beat at the end. And when King Cobra comes at him, he just kicks him once and knocks his ass out, like, done. And everyone's like, what the fuck? And Tiger's pissed because Tiger obviously makes money whenever Cobra or any of the top fighters make money. So clearly Tiger's like pissed off. He's like, okay, well, it looks like the kid's he says the monkey's a little feisty tonight. Let's give him something he can really handle. So they bring on this gargantuan dude. Like, I forget what they called him, but he was huge. And so it was taking a while for Kid to kind of fight and find some sort of weakness in this guy. I'm trying to remember who he reminded me of, but closest I can come to thought is Jaws from the James Bond series, but the dude was huge, Goliath. And so finally he does knock his ass out. I think kicks him in the balls and then in the throat or something, and then he goes down. So he wins all this money, and he puts it in like a backpack and leaves it at the statue of Shiva at the village. And so Alpha and the rest come and find the bag, and they find all this money that could now pay their land tax, or whatever the fuck it is that they do to keep the temple. So this is one good thing that Kid has done. So he's telling Alpha now, he's like, all right, I'm going to go and set things right, because they all know that Rana and Shakti are behind a lot of the corruption that's going on. So in order to end that, they need to bring it down, because Shakti in the process doesn't want the position of power himself per se. He wants to be the man behind the curtain. So he's propped up this other guy to be like, it's not like a mayor, but the ruler of the Nationalist Party. But this guy is really just a puppet for Shakti and the rest of them. So they're all going to go to the club and celebrate. They got all the richies there with the money. He's promoting his candidate. And I'm going to show a little bit of the footage now with just some of the different fight scenes from the kitchen fight scenes and the Indian and stuff like that, while I'm talking about the rest of this. And so the club's there. They're all like, this is kind of like when he's first coming in to finish the job. He does his great fight scenes in the kitchen, and just well executed. I wouldn't say they're overly great. I've seen better fight choreography, but considering, I mean, the thing about Patel here is that he's kind of a really lanky, skinny dude, but he's got some great moves, and he plays it off very well. And then, of course, here we're confronting Rana about the past, and he's going to fight Rana and get his revenge, basically, which he fucks up Rana pretty easily. Rana's a decent fighter, but not when Kid is like full force. That was when they were in the first fight, the first assassination attempt. And so, yeah, you're just seeing various scenes here. But Kid ends up killing Rana and then facing off against Shakti. And this is where Shakti here, he's worshipped by a bunch of followers. There's the guy with the bongos, the training. Just really, really cool stuff. So Shakti is kind of like in his personal pool area. And he knows that Kid's coming, but he doesn't really understand. Like he tries to almost talk to Kid in a way like, you don't understand the vision, or I'm not the one that wants the power per se. I just want the guy to be behind the scenes. So he's pretty much explaining everything about what he wants for the society, the city, and everything else. And I think it's sort of that hesitation is how he gets caught, because Shakti shows him like these pair of looks like slippers of sorts are made out of wood, but they have hidden like blades inside them, which we didn't know at the time, and neither did Kid. So as Kid kind of hesitates from killing Shakti right away, Shakti has he grabs the blade and rams it into his gut. So he's really hurt Kid a lot here. And I think that's the end of that. Yeah, so he hurts Kid pretty lethally, but Kid does manage to regain his focus and kills Shakti by just taking the same blade and ramming it into his fucking skull. Like, he's done. And we have this ending dream sequence where Kid is kind of remembering his mother as a young kid, and they're running through the forest and stuff. It has like the very Gladiator vibe about it. How Russell Crowe's character at the end is meeting his wife and kid in the afterlife, and it's sort of like that in this vibe with the Kid and his mother. I don't know if I like the fact that he dies at the end. Like, there's a possibility he survives because they never really show him just dead, but it's pretty much implied. So I don't know if I really like that per se, because I think that, he was just kind of beginning to start a new leaf on life, and because he'd been dealing with that trauma for years, and all he was focused on was on that revenge. So it's kind of sad that they would kill off the character that fast, but you never know. Like I said, it's not totally 100% that he's dead, but that was sort of the implication of everything that you see at the end of the film. The only thing I want to say about the trans fighters now, I've talked about it a lot with woke films. Like, I've always stated that it's not the principle behind wokeness that's a problem. It's how you apply it. So if you're going to write a movie, then you're going to have these social talking points that you want to, agenda, narratives, whatever you want to take from the real world and apply them to the movie, the script, or whatever. Make sure your story is strong, and then you can add in these little points that you want to make. That's how this film is. So to me, they don't serve a real purpose, the trans or the drag people here. It doesn't really serve a purpose to the film. You could easily just put them in normal people and it'd be fine. So I can only assume that they wanted to be inclusive in some way. But it works for this because the story itself is strong and it's not focused on that at all. Like, in fact, Alpha's pretty down-to-earth person. Like, there's no, he does mention a little bit about, we're out here because we're the minority and we're the unwanted or whatever. So there is some of that, but overall, the character is not annoying, and it's not trying to be preachy. It's not doing any of this. It's all part of the plot story to how he's conveying his knowledge to Kid. And so, and even when they come to fight, like in that bar, obviously they're dressed in the gypsy type. I don't know, what would you call that? It is sort of like gypsy, but yeah, the dresses and stuff. So they're in there and they're fighting, and they're pretty good at fighting. Not all of them make it, but the reality is, like, it doesn't take away from the story. And that's what you want. If you're going to include stuff like this and diversity and all that, that's how you do it. You have a solid story, and then you can insert your points here and there as long as it still works with the story. So it didn't take away from anything in this film. To me, I saw it and I immediately recognized it. I said, okay, so this is what people were probably complaining about when they were talking about the film. I don't think it's that big a deal. I've seen a lot worse when it comes to how people try to insert stuff like this, and that's why those movies tend to fail. Rotten Tomatoes, both critics and audience are around 80%. So I think the critics are 88% right now, and the audience is 84%. That's fair. That's probably where I am. Like, I rank my stuff out of 10. So I would say for me, it's an 8 out of 10 film. Like, it's decent. It's fun. And like, if nothing more, the cinematography, the story itself, the emotion that it conjures up, you can feel for the character kid. It makes sense. Like, it's a good film. Initially, by the trailer, I thought maybe it was going to be just about the in-ring fighting stuff, but turned out to be a very cool film with revenge story and stuff like that. But yeah, 8 out of 10 is fair. I think that's a good area. I don't know what anyone else like Samurai or Kevin. I'll check out what they did, but I don't know where 8's pretty fair for a film like this. Anyway, if you haven't checked out, I did my Invincible Armor Lone Wolf with Dub segment not too long ago. Check that out. Friday, I will be doing a live Q&A discussion with me for all the followers of Metal Tavern and anybody of the Sci-Fi Society, Samurai Land, whatever. Even I might have Rob from ETN stop in and some of the crew from over there to chat. I'll chat about anything. This is my moment. It's sort of like what Samurai does occasionally, just to shoot the shit. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to just go around, talk about Godzilla, martial arts, horror, tarantulas. If people want to talk about my hobby with tarantulas, music. If you want to talk metal and rock, got any questions about stuff that might be good this year you're interested in, let me know. But yeah, I'm going to do that. And then I got some other stuff in the works. I still want to do a review for Exuma. I want to do another Global Unscripted with Neko. I'm not sure when we're doing it. It was initially probably going to do it on a Saturday, but because we're going to go get crabs with her mom for her birthday, we're probably not going to have time for that. Tomorrow, though, for Thursday, 4th of July, Missy and I will be doing another Classic Reflections, reviewing Static X's Wisconsin Jet Trip album that's on its 25th anniversary. So we'll be breaking that down about how we feel about the album now with all the years past, and of course the late Wayne Static from the band, stuff like that. So be looking for that, man. Another one of those coming your way. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content. Got any ideas for stuff you want me to review, trailer reactions, whatever, let me know. I'm always willing to check it out. I'm always looking for trailers to check out. And I'll see you next time on a Metal Tavern Radio podcast, man.